Hello, everybody, and welcome to Becoming Invincible podcast. I am your host, Talia, and I am so excited to have you here. This podcast is to reframe your mindset, challenge those limiting beliefs that you may have when you're navigating all the situations in your life. And I'm here to give you tools to help you navigate them in such a healthy way and to harness your personal power that we tend to lose along the way. So settle up, get ready, grab a coffee, and get ready for some juice in each episode as I throw you what life has thrown me and we can navigate this shit together. Guys, welcome back to another episode. I really appreciate you guys all listening. It really means the world to me. It really, really does. Especially my podcast is only really just newly launched. Just so grateful for everyone tuning in and recommending and everything like that. That's literally the vision I have for my podcast, to reach more people and just to really help people understand that they're not alone and that we can work through everything with like better communication and choosing better feeling thoughts and trying to help you guys do that, because it's more than just being like, I'll just think positive. There's so much more to mindset, right? Like there's embodiment, everything comes down to the body. There's somatic, there's mind, and then there's the action, right? So yeah, I just really want this to be a safe space for everyone and have like a beautiful community to, that you guys have someone that, we're all going through it, just like in different ways. So this episode, I get comments about myself and I thought it would be perfect for an episode. So this one is about being open to love, being open to good things to enter your life when the world is telling us not to. Right? Like I feel like we live in a world where it tells us not to be open and understanding. It tells us like so much fear and everything that's inflicted to be like, if I'm open and understanding, that person could hurt me, or I've been hurt in the past, like things like that. I really believe that if we can just remain to be open and kind and, work on ourselves to get there, we can all live in that beautiful reality of happiness and love. And we all want to experience everything to like the greatest level, right? Of like a relationship in our life and everything. But it's like, how do we get there? And I get a lot of comments about like, how can you just be so open when you've gone through so much? And it's because like, number one, I have worked on myself and I continue to work on myself. I've worked one-on-one with coaches and we did a lot of somatic practices where you're reliving the experience to channel it out of your body. And I know that's so woo-woo, but it's literally a thing where you've got to feel the trauma again that's happened in your life. I know I hate that word too, very demonized, but I can't think of another one at this moment. So that is always going to be in our body because we've had that experience already. When we feel that moment again, we feel those feelings, then your body naturally releases. It's like, oh, I feel better. People get so scared of like, oh, if I got to work on myself, then I'm going to, relive all that horror. And it's more of the feeling. So when we can feel that, then your body will then release because it would have gone. It's like not suppressed in your body anymore and you can actually feel relief. So I know people get so scared about doing things like that, but it's not as scary as how you see all the breath work videos and people are screaming. I know that can be very confronting for people, but it's not always like that. So it really depends what route you want to go through. Anyway, so that is a main reason, is because I have felt a lot of the experiences of my past, and then with obviously how I had my girls and things like that. So that is one of the reasons, like a very key reason. And then also I've always been very an understanding person. It's just really heightened a lot more since doing self-development. So for me, I kind of flip it out on me. So if I met somebody and they had a really hard life, and would I want them to give me a chance? Yeah, I definitely do. I want them to give me a chance because I know who I am and I'm not a horrible person and I'm not going to put them through hell, right? So I know who I am. Of course, I would want that person to give me a chance. So when we can ask ourselves a question like that and be like, would you want someone to give you a chance? Of course you would. So why not would you be open to be giving that person a chance? The more open we can be with ourselves and with people around us, like, I'm going to be receptive. I really want to, like, to being open to love, right? It's scary. part of the gamble, for instance, with love is that we're scared to have heartbreak again because we know what that feels like. And the thing with life is that there's always polarity. And what that means is there's always going to be hard times and there's always going to be great times. And we can't always experience great times without a bit of hard times. And this is the thing where it trips everyone up, because people will come to me and be like, Talia, I haven't exactly had the hard time and my life is happy. Now, everyone's heart is different. And this is where we cannot shame other people as being like, oh my God, you've only been through that. That's piss poor to what I've been through. You're dismissing that person's experience because not everyone's lived one experience, right? We've all lived a different life. So whatever you deem to be hard is not going to be my hard, right? And what I deem to be my hard is probably not going to be your hard. And this is where it trips everyone up, where it's like, oh, that's like nothing. And it's like, why are you shaming that person? Because that's their life and that's real for them. You know, you can't dismiss that. Just because it's not equating to the fact of your hard doesn't mean a thing, you know? So I really want to say that being open to love, one of the things about when we go into love is the fact that, yes, there is a possibility of a heartbreak, but experiencing the greatness of love is worth it. And trusting yourself as well with who you're choosing to spend your time with and your energy with, that they're not going to break your heart. There's so many factors here, you know, and being open to happiness in life. Well, you're going to have to go through some level of hard, whether that be like working harder, you know, sacrificing, compromising, whatever it could be in your life to have that happiness, because we know happiness, we know sadness. If we didn't know sadness, we wouldn't have happiness because we would just think that's normal, would be called something else, or it would lose its meaning. For instance, like it wouldn't be happy because we wouldn't know what sad is, right? So we know what true immense love feels like because we've experienced immense heartbreak. And that's the polarity and that's the difference in life, right? So, you know, being open and receptive to life, even when it gets hard. So I started working on myself when I was 28 years old. I'm now 31. There's never a timeline, right? It's never a time frame. And so I was like, no matter what, I want to be open. I want to receive. I want to experience the best of the world. I want to have the best happiness in life. I want to experience what life has to offer. And I accepted the fact that it's going to come with a lot of challenge, because when you want that, when you want a lot of things, when you desire them, you're allowed to have them, but you will be challenged along the way, because that's how you grow as a person, how you handle situations, how you learn about yourself. You know, when you have your desire, how are you going to hold your desire and feel safe having that? Like a lot of the time we actually feel unsafe being happy because we're so scared that, oh, something's going to come along. This is too good to be true. We get sold that story so much that it's too good to be true. You're not an actual nice person. We are quick to sabotage happiness and love and all the good things because we do know the challenges, and it's like, oh God, this can't be true, when it 100% can be true. But the reason why we default to that is because we don't feel safe being happy, because when we do, there will be a challenge that happens. So when you're happy and you're like, yeah, wow, everything's going great, life may challenge you. It really depends on the challenge. And the only thing that we can control with the challenge is how we respond to it. So if you respond being like, oh my God, this is crazy, I was happy, oh my gosh, I knew happiness would last, you need to control those intrusive thoughts, because it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. You want greatness and something really happy. So it's like, okay, you're met with a challenge. How can I work through this challenge? It really depends on how it's coming up in your life. So very generic on how I'm speaking, but I can't really think of like an example. It could be even like in a new relationship, right? And it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then something activates you by how they responded to, I don't know, an argument, responded to your constructive criticism, responded to like a comment you made, could be anything. And it activates you being like, yep, here we go. This is what my ex did and I know where this goes. and you tell yourself all these stories to protect yourself because your mind's telling you things to protect you and being like, oh my God, they're the same person. They're not as nice as what they're saying. So you better jump out. So you're then going to self-sabotage and get out of the relationship and push that person away when really they're just a human feeling like, okay, however that, was portrayed to them, because with communication, we will perceive something so different. If you're the person having the conversation, the person receiving your information will perceive that so differently to how you mean it, because they've lived a different life, and it really depends on who you're talking to. Because a man will translate things so differently to how a woman will translate things. We're a lot more emotional, men are a lot more logical. And this is where conflict does happen and arise without having that understanding. So it's about asking a question, how did you receive what I said? And that person could probably tell you something completely different. You'd be like, whoa, that's not what I was meaning at all. And then right there, you can resolve a potential argument that could have really happened, right? And you don't get it right all the time. That's not the whole point. The point is just to go, okay, choose a better reaction to every situation. And some things you can't help, but there's some things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I get into my overthinking mode when it didn't really need. Overthinking is a trauma response. I'll have a different episode for that. And that's my way to deal with things. I've done that all my life, and having 28 years of it and trying to rewrite it, 4 years isn't enough over 28 years. And that is the perception people have on self-development, like you're never healed and you've never stopped. With your self-development, once you start, you sort of just keep going and you just incorporate it like a routine in your life. It doesn't have to be a big audacious ritual. It's literally just doing things to help benefit you through your life, And so I wanted to be open, receptive to what life has to offer, because I want to experience the greatest love. You want to be so happy. With having those things, you have to know what having a little bit of challenge is like and how you respond to that, so you're able to hold your happiness. Because with not being able to control how you respond to the challenge, you're not going to feel safe and worthy of having the happiness. You're going to question it. So instead of enjoying the love of your life or enjoying the happiness, whatever you're yearning for, you're then going to sabotage it. And you're going to be like, this is too good to be true. Something's going to happen. No, this is not right, etc. The intrusive thoughts are going to happen. You're going to push people away by avoiding them or by being too clingy, because you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose you, and things like that. We operate also differently. Opening your heart is just being okay, I'm open to receiving greatness however it comes, but I'm also have understanding. Wanting that, I'm going to experience some challenge. And that's okay. We just can't demonize things, because you're allowed greatness and happiness. It's about wiring your brain to see that, instead of being like, oh gosh, I'm scared, and living in that fear and letting fear rule your life, instead of embracing being like, no, this is different. Because would you want that person to judge you by their past? No, of course not. You're a completely different person. Your new partner shouldn't have to wear the cost of your past. Shouldn't have to. Different when you get activated, because that's your past experiences coming around, and that is going to happen, and that's normal. It will just slowly not happen over time. It's just about trying to be open and working through it as a team. We've all had a different hard. It's just not fair to just oh God, this has happened in the past, so you're going to do the same. It's actually I'm a completely different person, and you can't think that I'm just out to get you. So trying to create that understanding and keeping your heart open, it is scary. It's hard. You'll have to forgive a lot of parts of you. So for me, I've had to forgive past mistakes that I've done. I've had to, really forgive other people, because at the end of the day, if you're just going to build the resentment and hate somebody, you're just basically drinking poison, because they're outliving their life, right? That whole phrase when people are like, oh, resentment, it's just you're drinking the poison and waiting the other person to die. Yeah, they're living their life. They're not caring. So it's about, I forgive myself for having that experience, making that choice. There's a lot of forgiveness we need to do, because a lot of the time we carry a lot of guilt and shame because of our past experiences and our choices. And a lot of the time people will hold you to that. They'll go, oh, remember when? And they think they're being funny. The greatest key in life is actually to get better at feeling. So then when you're confronted with a different challenge, you're able to actually handle your emotions and not be so explosive. So people can judge me, right, for an instance, and be like, oh my gosh, she's so emotional, she feels her feelings. Fair enough, but do you want the alternative? And you wanted me to be more like blocked and more suppressed. So then if an argument broke out, or if you said something to me, I would just lash out at you or slam a door in your face. Would you prefer that? Everyone wouldn't, right? Everyone wants people to handle themselves better because there's no excuse to lash out or have a reflex of like slapping or hitting or slamming a door. You know what I mean? People do it and I totally get it. You have a rage and everything like that. It's all with context. I'm very big on like nothing's black and white. Everything's with context. I know for the men, you're very logic and very black and white, but life isn't black and white because there's never room for when people make mistakes or there's room for like, oh gosh, they said that wrong. You know, there's never room for that when we're all human and we're not always going to articulate ourselves well. We're not always going to do the right thing all the time. We're going to make mistakes because that's about learning. Like, I think letting go of such a rigid mindset really will help people cope with life and the challenges and the changes that happens. You know, a lot of people suffered through COVID time, right? So a lot of us weren't regulated to handle like being locked inside. People felt really isolated and it was such a horrible, challenging time, right? Like we all dealt with that so differently. But the alternative is about getting better at feeling and understanding and how we can regulate ourselves. How to get better at feeling and being open like to and receptive to love or happiness or things that you desire in a world that's constantly like telling us that we shouldn't be and to watch out and having this fear is to limit what you're consuming. So only consume things like social media, only follow, consume, listen to content and people who you feel good from or people that you don't feel drained. You feel like, wow, that was actually so cool to listen to or totally learnt that or whatever it could be. Because the more that you can filter out negativity and consuming people that empower us and be like, love that perspective or I love how she carries herself or wow, like if she can do it, I can, or if he can do it, I can. So that is one thing we can do to like keep open and not compare. Also, how do you want your day or life to feel? Everyone's different here. So I go by how do I want my life to feel? Because with me and the girls, like our days are so different all the time because they wake up with emotions. Sometimes they wake up calm and lovely and happy and, you know, so we don't really know, right? I always go by like, how do you want your life to feel? How can we create your life to feel that ease and flow, like or more structure? Because we get so lost in the whole flowy and ease and femininity and stuff like that. Now, sometimes when we get too into that, we get kind of lazy. And it's like, oh, everything's just going to magnetize to me. No. We do need a basis of a structure to have that ease and flow feeling and to create that. So for us as women, sometimes like for me, I still need some sort of structure to my day. So like, well, we're going to do breakfast and then me and the girls are going to get out and we're going to go to the beach or go to the park, whatever the weather's doing. We're going to get out and get some fresh air. And then I need to work for a bit. And then we need to do this. So the structure keeps going. So I still have a structure of how I want my day to be, but also doing those things, but in a way of making it feel good. Like when you're making breakfast, you can listen to a high vibe playlist and just dance and give your body a little bit. That can really help lift the energy. And to you're cooking breakfast or dinner helps with tantrums. You're still getting it done, but it's just about how you're doing it and you're embodying it in a different way. Instead of just being like, oh my God, I'm cooking breakfast, kids stop screaming. At least you're sort of enjoying doing it. How can you try to enjoy your day in the mundane, right? How do you want your life to feel? It's important to incorporate some sort of structure too, because that also does help. And that helps us feel flowy and less stressed as well for women. And then also just like how much time are you giving to yourself? Because if you're a mom, I can really imagine that you're not giving yourself much love, whether that's doing a face mask, running yourself a hot bath. You know, we always put the kids first and everything like that. if you need like a break or like a walk around the block or something, you need to tell your husband, your partner, a friend or someone, just so you can just get out and not be so consumed by the chaos, because we can really get lost in it. Sometimes when I do a mask and like I run myself a bath, I'm like, oh, that actually makes me feel better. It's not going to completely top the tank. It's going to only do it a little bit. So it's about incorporating those things. How can you do more of the things that make you feel good? What is it for you? Is it drinking your coffee hot and not having to reheat it so many times? Is it just going for a walk to clear your head? Is it eating a delicious meal at a cafe? Is it, I don't know, tackling like something you've had on the to-do list for a while and you just want to do it with no kids around? Like, honestly, it could be anything. Anything that's going to make you feel better is a form of self-love. It really is. Like, self-love is such a broad term and there's so much more about it, but you need to just give to yourself a little bit, right? Or just say, hey, I need to go and do this for a couple of hours, whether that's a massage, get your nails done, go have a walk along the beach, go for a run, whatever it is. Or just romanticize a bit. Women need to romanticize our life a little bit more, just so the mundane things don't get on us so much. And I do know it's easier said than done, so I will say that. So those are like 3 things that you can do. And like, just be open, like forgive yourself. Like, there is a forgiveness meditation you can do just to really like center in and like give yourself love. Like, how can you forgive yourself as well, or forgive other people, is actually by writing them a letter. So you literally go to whoever the person is or to yourself, and then you write out, like, I forgive you for, I don't know how you've handled money in the past. I forgive you on the mistakes you've made in the past, whether it's a relationship, life, whatever. I forgive you for not seeing out a certain career path or something. You know what I mean? It could be anything. We put shame and guilt on ourselves for so many things. It literally could be anything at all. Because the first time I started doing this, I had to write, the girl's sperm donor, like 6 or 7 or something. I had to write him multiple, because you can't just write your feelings out and expect him to change and go, okay, I'm all done. It's consistency. So the more you just kind of like write letters and burn them, write them, burn them, don't keep them, you burn them, because it's something to do with your brain, and to actually see that you're releasing, it's a form of like connection with the brain. It's like a psychology thing. So the more you can do that, you're just letting it go and you're moving forward, right? Obviously with that situation with the sperm donor, it was a lot more and I had to work on myself somatically and things like that, but also it really did help forgiving with the forgiveness letter, right? So those of you that probably have done a bit of work on yourself and things like that, maybe that's something you need to do, or forgive yourself, write yourself a bunch of letters. The more you write and release, it just changes and you actually feel a lot more lighter and be like, wow, like, okay, I didn't know I was holding all that in. And if you need to write yourself 5 letters, go right ahead. So it might be a thing. And everyone underestimates that. I feel like people could be listening and being like, oh my God, does that even work? It really does. Like, the more you do it, you can't just expect writing 1 letter and you're going to be right. It's never like that. It's about like doing it constantly. So whenever you're feeling low, just like, maybe I need to write myself a letter again and write it out, get it all out and burn it. The more I did that, the more came out in each letter. The letters got longer and I was able to feel really good. And I was able to do a meditation as well. I did the letters and then I would meditate. I know meditation is not for everyone, but just even giving yourself love, talking to yourself like you would to your child or to a friend. You know, you wouldn't slate them over something. You would actually greet them with love and kindness. So you greet yourself with love and kindness, right? Why should you be any different? So it really does help with doing those things. So that's just like a starting point, or just like to help alongside doing, obviously, releasing work. Because at the end of the day, like, for us to really work through things in our past, we have to release it from our body, because that's why we can get back pain or random spasms and things like that. This is just a really good starting point to really just acknowledge and understand those key areas, and just knowing that it's not your fault. Don't shame yourself. You didn't know any better in like every given situation, and I think it's good for us to really acknowledge that too. I hope this episode helps you guys, but I know it's a lot of stuff that we've all probably heard before, but just really trying to elaborate on certain things and just understand that it's really about getting better, about feeling and not shaming yourself. I really appreciate you guys listening. The work is never done. It's just about incorporating it in your life the best that you can, because I know self-development is very controversial and everyone speaks on it and we all have different experiences. So I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I really appreciate you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you in another episode.